I've chosen 6 lieder, 5 from the Winterizer and 1 from Schwann and Gesang, as we already have heard the unglückselige Atlas. And I try to show some aspects which seem to me very important for understanding Schubert's language. First of all, in the first piece of the Winterizer, which is named Good Night, as a stranger I arrived here, as a stranger I am leaving again. We have already this idea of rambler. For Schubert, the whole life was a wandering from birth to death, and we don't have any choice. We have to go if we want, or if we don't want, we have to go. And so we have this permanent accompaniment, as for instance in this first lead. And then, in the third part of this lead, we have already one of these main characteristics in Schubert's music. That's the changement from minor to major, or from major to minor, without any preparation. So it's a sudden changement of the mood. We have here the text says, I will not disturb your dreams, that would spoil your rest. We have to imagine he's completely sad because his great love has left him. He stands before her house and he's still so full in love that he says, I will not disturb your dreams. But for me, the most exciting moment is at the end, when he writes Schubert repeats the last phrase twice. The first time, I have been thinking of you, still in love. And full of sadness. The second example comes already from the second lead in the Winterizer, which is called the weather vane. Here we also can find something which is very characteristic in the music of Schubert. We will find it nearly in each sonata of Schubert, a long unison phrase. Here we have not only the piano introduction, Unizono, and even when the singing voice comes, it's still unisono. Only now we're going to a choral set. But the most thrilling moment, in my opinion, is in the second part, when he feels the pain and he the situation is that the parents seem to ask him, how do you feel with your pains? And he says, what do they care of my sorrows? Your child is a rich bride. And this, your child is a rich bride, is in an A major scale. So we have this ambivalence. He is furious, but on the other hand, the parents are happy. And this sounds like this. And immediately afterwards, again Unizono. We have this gruesome trill. We know it from the B major sonata, the last one. Very similar situation. The third example I want to give is from number 14 of the Winterizer. The name is the hoary head, der greise Kopf. The plot is, there was a white coat of frost. I spread over my hair, so I have this impression that I'm already old. Why does he feel happy that he's old? Because he's closer to death, and death will be the liberation of all the pains in the world. So we have a kind of recitative. White coat of a frost spread over my hair. It made me think I was already old, which made me very glad. But soon it thawed away, and my hair is black again. Now my youthfulness appeals me, how far still to the funeral bier. He's terrified, he's shocked that he's young again. And now again, Unizono. How far still to the funeral bier? Wie weit noch bis zur Bahre? This Wort Bahre, the beer, this eccentric rhythm, what a kind of expression. In number 20, the signpost, or the Wegweiser in German, we have already a very interesting introduction, because it's not a 4-bar introduction, it's a 5-bar introduction. And we will find this in his piano music as well. And now comes the singing voice. He could have done the tension is in this fifth bar. Very impressive for me. And then again we have this changement from minor to major. It's a somehow whining moment. The text is, I have done no wrong that I should shun mankind. Weeping in music. And then what senseless craving drives me into the wilderness. And again this Unizono describing the wilderness, this loneliness. And now follows an interlude in the piano which belongs for me to the most shattering moments in music. This changement first from B major to B minor is already a breakdown, but from B minor to G minor is for me like an implosion. The fifth example from the winterizer is the tavern, number 21, das Wirtshaus in German. This is a very strange piece. When we listen to the introduction, we have a completely different impression of what will happen in this lied than really will happen in this lied. I made a little trick because the ending of this phrase at the beginning is different. I played the last three chords from the end of the lied because here again we have a phrase of 5 bars. And again we have this moment where everything breaks into pieces. What is it? Is it such a cozy atmosphere as we have the impression when we hear the introduction? No, because the tavern is a symbol for the graveyard. And just in the 5th bar of the beginning, we can somehow feel that something is wrong with this cozy atmosphere. now comes the singing voice. To a graveyard my path has brought me. And again, here I will lodge, I thought myself. So he's looking for a grave where he can die. And later on, he says, but in this house are the rooms all occupied? I am tired to drop sick unto death. He says, pitiless tavern, do you turn me away? Then onward, lead me onward, my trusty staff. And this is fascinating because there are so many details in harmonical writing that we feel this balance between he wants to die, he cannot die, he has to go on to wander. And these changements in the mood are extremely impressing how Schubert wrote this. For instance, G flat, and then C major, C sharp, and D flat. Incredible. And then at the end we come to A flat major, C minor, A flat major, C minor, C major, F major, F minor, C minor, and so on. And just at the end we have once more the first two bars of the beginning, but now with another end. And the last example I want to give you is from Schwann gesang, the Doppelgänger. It's difficult to translate. We can say the double, or in English sometimes it's even used the word Doppelgänger. And the scenery is about the same like in the winterizer. That means the man is standing in front of the house where his former love used to live. And this makes him a lot of pain. And Schubert expresses this pain. He uses the so-called Kreuz motif. We know it already from Bach. This Schubert has changed it a little bit, but it's the same idea, and we can see the cross in the music. This motif remains several times in this piece. It's only filled up with the F sharp in the middle, but Schubert used this motive nearly at the same time when he wrote his big Mass in E flat major. In the Agnus Dei, he uses it several times in different instruments, in voices. So this was really immanent in Schubert's life, musical life. And it's fascinating to compare all these compositions Schubert has written in his last year when he died in 1828. It's incredible how many important pieces he has written, not only the 3 late sonatas, the 3 impromptus. He finished the Winterizer, he wrote this lieder, which are bound together under the title of Schwann gesang. That's a title from the editor, not from Schubert. The quintet, the famous quintet, the E flat major Mass, the 9th Symphony. So he was really full in this music, and so it's not surprising that we find motives in all these pieces. And here we have again the situation, he stands in front of the house. In this house lived my sweetheart. She has long since left the town, but the house still stands on the self-same spot. And then he realizes a man stands there too, staring up and wringing his hands in anguish, in highest pain. And what's the surprising is that the moment when is Schmerzinski, the forcing of pain, Schubert writes D major in a forte fortissimo. So the development is again left hand cross motive. Then he restarts the phrase. I shudder when I see his face. The moon shows me my own form. And again, my own form is again this D major chord. D major, we have a completely other association to D major than this one. And then there follows a harmonical changement which is frightening for me. Now, on the D major is just a fortissimo. On the following chord, there is now the forte fortissimo. And the solution is not really a solution. In the following bars, he changes the accompaniment. There is a chromatic line to D sharp. quite far away from B minor. And the text is, "You rave pallid companion, why do you ape the pain of my love, which tormented me on this very spot so many a night in these last long past days." And the postludium is for me one of the greatest miracles. First of all, instead of C sharp, he now uses C major, and in the ground position. Not, it's a Neapolitan 6, but it's not like it's this. And then he uses the dominant 7th chord, solving to E minor, B major, and somehow this end is open for me. Because of this 7th chord before, he gives us a suggestion that this piece should end in E minor. But that's this wonderful expression that it remains open. All the way it's in B major, already the last chord, but that's not the solution of all his pains. So I hope I could give some suggestions what I'm fascinated of in Schubert's language in his Lieder. And in the following part we will show, I will try to show these things in his instrumental music, in his sonatas.